Welcome to Amplifying Recruitment. In this episode, I'm joined by Ben Fielding. Ben is an email deliverability expert specifically for the recruitment industry. He describes your email domain, or a good email domain, as gold dust, and you need to defend yours with your life. In this episode, Ben shares some of the top tips for making sure you've got a good domain where your emails actually land in the inboxes of the people that you need to get in front of, and what to do if that isn't the case. Now, whether you're a solo recruiter or part of a much larger brand, this episode is packed full of hints, tips and tools that you can use immediately. Ben, welcome to Amplifying Recruitment.
Thanks for having me.
For anyone that doesn't know you, could you start just by giving us a bit of an introduction to you and what you do?
Sure. Ben Fielding, founder of Quinset. We're email delivery specialists, primarily for the recruitment sector, although we do help out other tech companies and marketing agencies, but my favourite customers are recruiters.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. And so I'm going to dive straight in with like a problem, if that's all right. So when we were just chatting off a camera, you said something around domains being ruined. I think was your exact words. Like,
yeah.
What does, specifically from a recruitment company perspective, what does that look like?
So the impact that recruiters will have is, emails at best hitting junk, worst not even getting accepted by email systems. And they're getting zero returns on any kind of outbound like specking or email marketing. And that's come about through breaking every rule there is and sending out stuff that no one wants, that's not technically set up right, with what perceived to be dodgy content and looking like a scammer or spammer because they're doing things in a similar way, but accidentally.
So I think it's widely accepted amongst recruiters that a percentage of my emails that I send will go into junk. Maybe less so the not even being accepted. But when that's occurring, I think I could be wrong here. I don't think I am. But I think a lot of recruiters will put that back on that's the company that I'm sending it to. That's their firewall or that's their system. There's nothing I can do about that. I reckon you're going to say there is something you can do about that, and there's some behaviours that people should be following.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to stop it happening in the first place. And if you go back a few years in the kind of more wild west of email delivery as it was back then, everyone was quite relaxed. Then, some corporates would have much tighter reins on email deliverability. And if one person in the business marked an email as spam, then everyone does. And that's it. But a lot of it is not these companies marking you a spam or putting you on their block list. It's, you've broken some pretty basic rules in standard email filters, and then you're not getting through.
Okay. So if I'm starting from scratch, what should I do to protect my domain or not do the ruin the domain thing that you spoke about?
So the 100% way of doing this, and I've had this conversation twice last week, was one was a brand new recruitment company, one was a full rebrand, new domain. And I said, first thing you need to do is buy that domain as soon as possible. So you really want that domain to exist and have some kind of presence for, used to be 90 days until you weren't classed as a new domain anymore. It's more than likely 180 days now, a lot of spam filters. And some corporate ones will be, if you've not been around for at least 6 months, you're a new domain. So who spins up new domains and start sending loads of emails really quickly? Spammers and scammers, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
So you need that domain to be around for a while. You need to make sure that you're emailing as getting as much engagement as possible from the emails you are sending out. So sending out as much warm content as possible. And that could be as cheeky as your friends, family, neighbours, employees, but it could also be contacts that you're bringing in and say, hey, we're launching this, or I'm starting a new business, or we're rebranding. And you get that engagement, lots of value add content, lots of valuable things that people would want, not asking for anything, just lots of giving, getting people to subscribe into receiving content from you as well. That's a really great way of doing it. And interaction, because a lot of the filters, especially like Google and Microsoft, they want to see not just inbound but outbound to your domain as well, so they can see this flow. So hard and fast rule, brand new domain, is get really warm engagement, positive engagement, and have that domain running for a few months before you start doing interesting things with emails.
Okay. And so does this change? So I'll just put myself in the shoes of a recruiter for a second. I've just joined a new firm. and they're like, welcome on board, Jamie, here's your desk, like get set up. And then is that a new domain, or is that because it's Jamie at ABC Recruitment, like I'm cool?
Yeah, it's a new email address. The domain is primarily what's got the reputation.
Okay.
But some corporate filters will see a new email address as a new email address. I know some recruiters, are part of their onboarding process of new member of staff, they'll warm their mailbox up for a couple of weeks using one of the various warm up mailbox tools before they start, just to kind of give it a chance. One of the things they try to avoid as well is if you're on Microsoft 365, and it happens in Google Workspace as well, but if you gun 1,000 emails a day in your first week, the system thinks you've been hacked and your account's been hacked because it's abnormal behavior. So the company should be encouraging people to kind of warm up how many you're sending every day before you're sending out however many hundreds or thousands you need to.
Okay, so that's if it's new. So if it's brand new, I need to just wait like 90, warm it up for 90 days, send
at least,
single emails at a time. So I'll email Ben, hey, I've just joined this new company, or we've just set this up. Hopefully we have a backwards and forwards or like a few emails exchanged, do that a few times. And then I can get into specking, I suppose. Like
And this is what I mean. You can use the email marketing tools as well to be sending out emails when you set up your business. But again, slowly, like build this stuff up. You need to just build this up and get people used to being around. And if you can get people to click on the link or reply to the email or whatever you want, that's all the positive stuff you need to do. I mean, generally, I've got a recruiter I work with. They've got 3 brands, and then they got like the group. And the group email has a amazing reputation because all it's ever done is interact with real human beings from real human beings.
Yeah.
The other 3, lots of specking, lots of email marketing. Lots of people don't want those emails. So they get marked as spam, they get deleted, whatever is happening out there. And those 3 have a challenging reputation that we're constantly fighting to keep above the line.
Okay. And what about then, so if I'm an established business and I know that emails are going into junk, I know that I'm being marked as spam, or maybe some aren't delivering at all. What are the things I need to, how can I go back and retrospectively, I don't know, correct some of this damage that's been done?
There's like a seesaw, right? Because if there's been something wrong, i.e. you've got, you're sending emails to people that it's irrelevant to them, it's not valuable content to them, it's not relevant to their life, their job, their career, their hiring position, whatever it's going to be. If you've not got the tech stuff set up right, as all the DNS stuff we'll get into, your SPFs, DKIMs, DMARCs that everyone's heard about, and you might be sending out attachments that are triggering spam filters, or there's links in your email, all that just weights down like this bad side. And the longer you're doing that, the more that's weighted down. So to get us back from there, we've got to tip that balance back. And that can take time. It can take time to do that because you've got to teach these algorithms, like the big spam filters, especially from a specking perspective, you have Google and Microsoft, and also the corporate ones like Mimecast and Proofpoint and all the other ones that are out there. You've got to train them essentially back over time that you are valuable content and you're not a spammer. So it kind of tips back that way. That can happen in days. It could be weeks. It could be months. It depends how long and how bad things are.
Yeah.
For you to be able to kind of turn that back around again.
You said something interesting there. You said the is it SPF?
Yeah.
I thought that was sun cream. So DMARC, DKIM, SPF, and everyone knows like all about that stuff. I don't think they do. I don't think, and there might be some business owners that do. I think there'll be lots that don't. I think there'll be very few recruiters that know what that is, and if they do, maybe it doesn't come into their consideration. I don't know. Is that too deep a topic for us to look at now? Like, what do I do if I'm a business owner? I'm like, I kind of know that stuff's important. What should my thought process around
so
that be?
A lot of recruiters, they're going to be working with an IT company, and most IT companies look at this from a security perspective. So having your SPF set up, having your DKIM set up, and having your DMARC policies all there is about securing your email system. Might not necessarily, I'm not saying this is a blanket statement, but they're not necessarily looking at this from a deliverability perspective. So they know they've set things up, so they're blocking people trying to spoof your domain and pretend to be you and essentially hijacking your domain. Great, we've got these rules in place, but they might not know about the marketing tool that you've deployed or the new CRM system you've put in because you might not have had the conversation with them. So there may be anomalies in your SPF record the DKIM might not be set up, and the DMARC policy you set, which is basically, a lot of people set it to reject anything that breaks these two rules, the SBF and the DKIM, and then you're blocking your own valid emails because no one's looked at the data. And the DMARC stuff's really important to actually, you can monitor DMARC reports. And a lot of companies either set up a DMARC monitoring tool and never look at it, or don't have a DMARC monitoring tool at all. And there's huge insights you get from that. But knowing what those three things are and understanding the importance, and understanding the importance of your domain, which is more important than your phone number. You know, what Recruiter calls from an 0208 number now, it's all from a mobile number.
Yeah.
Because people actually pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So your domain, that's the gold, right? That's absolute gold. And that's potentially it's the value of your leads, which is the value of your business, surely. So understand it, learn it, understand the importance, and defend it. I know a lot of people that delegate the responsibility of their domain to their marketing company or their IT company. Okay, but who's managing and checking that any changes that are made aren't affecting your deliverability? And I get this at least monthly. I go back and look at the history and go, who made that change on that day? Because they're the one that's broken your deliverability. And it's like, it was the IT company. It was someone in marketing, or quite commonly, it was me. The recruiter going, I followed a guide, and and there's a lot of misinformation out there online, confusing information, and some stuff that's just outright wrong.
I think that's some interesting stuff you said in there about like how to treat it like gold and defend it, and because it is so important, isn't it? Having a domain that actually, like, emails that land is so important for a recruiter. And maybe it's not given the weight that it deserves. So you talked about this seesaw, right? Of maybe we've had some behaviors over a period of time that have led us to be like out of sync. What's the right word? I don't know. The seesaw isn't in our favor. What's the stuff that we can do to start to reverse that? Like, how do I start to build like a good domain reputation? Like practical stuff.
Yeah. So first thing you got to do is get some DMARC monitoring set up. And DMARC monitoring, you basically get emails back every day from every email system out there in the world that tells you how many of your emails passed or failed the SBF or the DKIM checks. So you get these reports about insights into what's happening when they land at the email server, not the mailbox, but the email server that the mailbox is in. So get that set up and make sure that's okay.
And what's a good number there? So if I'm accepting,
you want 100% really, but realistically, there are, just to the joys of the way the internet works, sometimes you get little blips because the lookup of your DNS was interrupted. So I mean, if you're like your 365 emails, generally people see between 97 and 99% passing DKIM checks. Similarly on SPF, and you set up both because if one doesn't work, the other one's picking up the slack. Kind of pass one of those checks. So there's at least one green tick in the box there. That, and then something like Google Postmaster, which is free. Just go to postmaster.google.com, follow the instructions, and have a look and see what Google thinks of your domain. It's just Gmail and Google Workspace. It's just their insights, but that's a good kind of like barometer of what other platforms are probably doing. Microsoft don't have a similar tool, which is frustrating. And if you've got a lot of AOL, Yahoo customers, which quite a lot of candidates in certain industries are, they've got some tools which are evolving that give you insights as well. But at least having those two there can evidence that I'm getting the tech stuff right, or get an email delivery specialist to come and assess it all for you. Right? So getting that bit right, and then it's having a look at actually what you're sending out from what does a spam filter think of what you're sending? So it could be your email signature, the links you got in there, attachments, particular phrases or characters.
And how will I know? How will I know with because there's a minefield out there, right? Of I've seen different things. So like, don't send attachments, don't include links, don't use the £, because people will think that you're like scamming them and trying to get money from them. Don't use the word credit card. Like, how do I know? How do I know what's causing that problem?
Well, they're constantly evolving, and all these filters are put in place to stop scams and spam emails. So there's and there's certain behaviors that just get picked up and over time become like the norm. The oldest one ever, and there's a standard setting in every Microsoft 365. There's a tick box, and it only does it for these two, what we call TLDs, top level domains, so .com, .co.uk. There's a specific tick box to basically say distrust, .biz, and .info. Because back in the day, they were the two top level domains that scammers and spammers were buying, pretending to be someone else.
Right.
So that was the first time there was a we've known we've got an issue as an industry. So what things have evolved after that, and what they're looking for is, okay, what are they trying now? So if someone does what's called rewriting a URL, this happens all the time with recruiters. You put www.mywebsite.com in your signature, that goes out through your CRM or your marketing tool that has got tracking links enabled on it. So it turns that link into another link, so you can see that someone's visited, and it bounces to your website. Because you've actually written your domain out and it's got a tracking link on it, that's called a rewritten URL. Scammers do this when they put your password's been breached, go to www.microsoft.com, but it's when you hover over it, you see it's actually dodgywebsite.com.
Yep.
So it's don't rewrite URLs, right? And so they set that as a rule: rewritten URLs, distrust, potential spam, potential attack, phishing attack, whatever it might be. The weirdest one is a lot of spam filters. If there's an exclamation mark and a question mark in the subject line, it's likely to be spam. That's an actual standard setting in most spam filters.
Wow. Okay.
And then, I hear a lot of people say, dollar signs, pound signs, all those kind of things. Consistency of subject lines works really well. Either put every word with a capital letter or don't. Right? Don't kind of like mixed cases. Don't make it too long. Don't make it too short. And this is all. It's like if you think of like 100% pass rates for a spam filter, could be 1,500 checks. This is all like incrementally trying to improve stuff. And there's some obvious stuff and there's some less obvious stuff. Sometimes it's trial and error and kind of split testing your email marketing. But yeah, I can generally tell just by looking at an email if it's going to trigger a spam filter or not, just because I've seen enough of them and I've been doing this for years. Other times it's less obvious. Why is that actually happening? And then you've got to do, let's do a variation of that and let's see what happens.
That's really interesting. That do you know what I'd love to do, and I wish we'd thought of this before, is maybe get some emails in from recruiters and go like, which of these are going to land, which are not going to land. Because I talk to recruiters all day, every day, and one of the questions they'll ask you, like, how do I grab someone's, like, the subject line's so important. How do I get someone's attention? Should I put some emojis? Should I do it in capitals? Should I put the exclamation mark? Should I use their name? And there just isn't a one size fits all answer, is there?
So I worked with the first time I really got into email deliverability for recruiters, where it was back when I had a tech company, and it was interesting to see the difference between their emails. And what I quickly realized was there's a massive difference between a recruiter sending an email to a client or a candidate, like a one-off email, and then there's a different mindset when you're then penning an email that's going to go to 1, 2, 10, 15,000 people.
Yep.
And I've done this in a room with recruiters since. And that's all right. You send me an email, right? You're trying to pitch me that candidate, right? You've heard of me, you found my details. Just draft an email, send it over to me. Carried on doing the session. And an hour later, kind of coming to the end and say, right, now I want you guys to write an email that's going to go out to 50,000 people to promote that candidate. And they were chalk and cheese. This first one, personal, engaged, I liked it. That feels like a human being's written that. This one, there was just a massive stick up its butt. It was trying too hard.
Yeah.
It just felt like a mass email. I said, can you see the difference? Why has your behavior changed? Because recruiters want these emails to go through like they're one-to-one. So write it like you're going to one person. And would you put in the subject line, Ben, I've got the best. I mean, would you really do that? Just write it on the fly and then review it and go, do you know what, I might need to put a bit more context in it. But yeah, you can feel the difference. I mean, everyone can try this in their business.
Yeah.
And you can split test those as well. Again, I'm going to send that out to 1,000 people, that one to 1,000 people. What's the engagement difference? And there's your evidence.
I think there's a guy called Rich Evans, who lots of people listening to this will know.
Yeah.
You know Rich. He said something to me months ago where he's like, and I'll take out the expletives. He said, "Stop making your marketing look like marketing."
Yeah, 100%.
Like that's step number one, and it's kind of like what you're saying there. Is that I've got this one email that's hyper personalized and relevant, probably more importantly, versus what is clearly a marketing email. Okay, that's interesting. What else? What else can I do to rebuild the reputation?
Engagement. What a lot of recruiters do, there's two things recruiters do. They, my favourite phrase, I have to thank my friend Yar Miller for this. She hates the fact this is the one thing I remember from what she says as a marketing strategist. Don't we all over your marketing.
Yep,
right?
Love that.
We're this, we're great, we're brilliant,
Yep.
we're amazing. Look what we can do. That might attract more recruiters to come and work for you. Doesn't attract clients, doesn't attract candidates. You need to demonstrate your expertise and your understanding of their pain, their issues, their world. Right? And most recruiters niche, and it might be industry, it could be specific role, it could be location, like regional kind of targeting. Demonstrate you understand their world, right? And associate yourself with that world. Be seen to be an expert in that world and have a voice in that world. Not the job you do, but actually, be one of those people out there on the soapbox ranting about the changes in the freight industry in Texas, because that's where have a voice in that industry. And then you use that to communicate with people and stop doing the other thing, which recruiters generally do and only do, which is ask. The first email they've ever had from a recruitment agency, they ask for something. I want your business. I've got a great candidate for you. Please take them off my hands. I want to hire for you. Let's work together. So, well, hold on a second. Who are you? Right. I don't know you. Therefore, I can't like you. Therefore, I can't trust you. So, and that's that marketing kind of journey you need to go on. So they need to know who you are to start off with. If you're trying to get people to take notice of you, give them something. Educate them. Give them something free. Right? Show your expertise. Understand the challenging industry right now. One of our clients has produced this really great white paper. I'd like to share this with you. It might be interesting. And then you got a reason to follow up. Did you ever read that? Because I thought, and then you start to build that know, like, trust. It's really hard to do. And most recruiters are like, I haven't got time for that. Specking's always worked for us. Well, yeah, do you know what I used to? But everyone knows that 18 months ago, Google and Microsoft changed the landscape around deliverability, tightened the screws on you getting into mailboxes. So if they've changed, you've got to adapt and change as well.
And that's where you just said there, it's hard to do. I don't think it is hard. I think it just takes some effort. And that's the bit. And specking doesn't take any effort.
It's a different skill set in the business. Yeah. And this is where a conversation we had earlier on, that if 10 years ago you said to someone, what is recruitment? I said, recruitment is 100% sales.
Yeah.
That is it. You hire great salespeople and you'll do great. We've got some tools to get leads in and they work. The shift has been this: you've got to market yourself, right? You've got to stand out from everyone else. And it's not just other recruiters. You've got to stand out from every other 100 cold emails they've had in their mailbox. Right? And this has massively increased in the last few years, cold emails. Everyone's at it. Just like the inbox, cold inbox pings you get in LinkedIn as well, right? Things are going up and up and up. So how do you stand out? How do you look different to all that other noise that's in their mailbox, or no matter what platform they're on?
And like when we were talking off camera, you said there that recruitment's becoming a marketing job. And I know you're going to talk about this at the expo, so I'm not. But this is going to go out after the expo, so okay. So I'm not. No spoiler alert needed. And I think you're right. Like, I think you're absolutely right. I think recruitment is definitely a sales job, but it's also a marketing job. And like, we've got recruiters that are YouTubers. Like, that's a real thing, and no one predicted that 5 years ago, right? So that's marketing. I think that's really important that people keep that front and center of their mind and with their behaviors as well.
Yeah, when I set up first business 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I remember someone went to one of these like peer support groups, got connected with, made amazing difference to our business. And someone said to me, if you've got £100 left in the bank and your business is doing this, spend every penny on marketing. Right? Get your brand out there, get visible, get people knowing who you are, right? Stand out. You've got to stand out. Otherwise, and I know a lot of recruiters have a website, they've just got started. They've got 3, 4, 5 pages. It says who they are, what they do, and how to contact them. They may or may not have even bothered to set up a Google business profile. They've got a company page on LinkedIn. They've got a few people connected with it, and then they send out 10,000 emails and say, trust me to hire your next superstar, and I'm only going to charge you X amount of money. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
You might go and look at the website. Who are these guys? I mean, why that recruiter over the one I'm already using, or over the process I already have in my business? You've got to stand out.
Yeah. Okay, so back to that seesaw.
Yeah.
We've got like all the spam avoidance stuff that we covered, the value and the content piece.
Mm.
What about where does your data set come into this?
So I'm pretty sure every recruiter listening to this podcast, if they really dug down deep and asked themselves the hard question, they'd probably say that half their database is just shit. That half their database is useless. It's either too old, or it's incomplete, or it's been keyed in wrong. And that's really sad when you see that. Laziness of, whether it's time pressure or just not being incentivized the right way. Recruitment's all about gamification, right? Drive the right behaviors through incentivizing those behaviors. And it's monetary value on getting those deals. But how do you incentivize quality of data in your database as well? So many tbc@gmail.com against the record they've got it, or not even spelling Gmail right, or getting the company name or not validating the email address. And that just kind of sits in there, and then still sending out to them. And this is the things that people don't think about when they realize what they're doing. That shit. So if you've got loads of Hotmail, Outlook, AOL, Gmail addresses that are donkey's years old and might have been abandoned, those mailboxes might have been abandoned, or the bit before that at outlook.com, gmail.com is wrong. Every time you send an email to that email address, that platform's going, well, that mailbox isn't in use. You've never emailed this before. Where did you get that email address? Sometimes those platforms repatriate those as spam traps and say, if someone emails this address and they've never emailed it before, then they're buying data somewhere.
Little honey trap.
Yeah. So that happens. And mailbox is full, inactive, or sending it through to, someone just put blah, 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 blah at outlook.com, and they're hitting that, they're rejecting that. So if you keep doing that, that's just going to chip away at the reputation on that platform, because you obviously are sending out a load of rubbish. So again, going back to the 1,500 things that can affect you, in the spam filter perspective. So that's just one thing. And then it's just are you relevant still to that individual? And if you're still sending someone first line IT help desk job descriptions because you've had their email address for 8 years, and they're now a lead infrastructure engineer at wherever, I don't want that. Not interested. And they'll probably mark you as spam. Hopefully, and this is the weird bit, and most recruiters freak out when I say, you're better off people unsubscribing than marking you as spam. So make it easy for them to unsubscribe. And then that helps you kind of clean your own list as well.
Yeah.
So if you can send out, the warmer and warmer your database is, that has a direct impact on the reputation of your domain, because people are engaging.
And you just use that word warm there. So it's something you've spoken to me about. For in my business is creating hot, warm, and cold lists. Right?
Yeah.
So what does that look like for a recruiter, for either candidates or clients? How do you advise people do that?
So there's different ways of doing this. If I look at this from a pure marketing perspective at any business, you've gone and bought a platform so you can do some prospecting, you can get some new details from people. The perfect way of doing this is to use that prospecting tool to drive people to some valuable content, either first, second, third, fifth email, whatever it is, and get them to opt in to get more content from you, and then populate your proper marketing tool or CRM with their details. And they've probably given you more than you had anyway.
Yeah.
You've then not just got a warm, so you've got a super hot list of contacts here, right? They've opted in, they want your content. They've asked for it, they're begging for it. Please, I'll give you, I don't care. There's my date of birth and inside leg measurement. I want more of this. This is absolute gold. And then you want to be doing more of this than you do over here. Generally, recruiters are using a CRM system and it's one big database. So you might send out one type of campaign, but you can use like scoring systems. I know within a lot of CRMs, which are, yes, they've replied, yes, they've responded, right, tag that, and now segment my database into never responded, have responded, now's not the right time. We've placed them 4 times this year in contracts, whatever it is, And there's different ways of doing this. And I'm not a recruiter, and I'm not an expert in recruiting at all. But if you take that model of what great marketing looks like with some cheeky prospecting in there, then how do you apply that into your business? So what you want for every one cold email you send out, you want to be sending out as many warm emails as you can.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things I got onto last year was if I've got an opportunity to send out really more warm emails than I already am as a business. What does that look like as a recruiter? Yes, I've now got someone into a role, but what about good luck on your first day tomorrow? Don't forget, here's your 5-point checklist. Client, hey, Dave's starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
I really hope it goes well. Let me know if there's any issues, whatever it might be. And then a few days later on, I hope your first week's gone well. You might ask for some feedback. There might be some, whatever it is. So for that one placement, you could chuck in another half a dozen to a dozen emails that people want, because you've just given someone the job of their dreams, and someone else, they've just paid some good money. They want to see a bit more value than just, right, they're in, go next, right? A bit of perceived value beyond that D-Day when that person started in that role. So you could have one cold prospecting email that went out that got the client, that you put the candidate in, and then you can send 20 emails back and forth getting that deal done, and then there's another dozen emails. So one email can look like 40, and they're 40 that people want versus the one that people didn't. I'm not saying every cold email turns into a sale, because we know it doesn't.
Yeah.
So, but everyone can do the maths of how many emails they send, how many placements they make, or how many placements get engagement, how many candidates or clients get engagement with, and how do I end up sending hopefully more warm emails than I do cold. And there'll be some recruiters listening to this going, fuck off. There's no way. I do 50,000 cold emails a week. I can't do 250,000 warm emails a week. So, well, maybe, right? It's possible, but you've got to, again, it's about tipping that seesaw back, or keeping it in the right direction anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got the spam stuff we spoke about, the value in the content, that being really, really important, your data and segmenting that and having different lists. Is there anything else that helps move that seesaw back in my favor as a recruiter?
Yeah, the one tactic I have for people is don't send out all your cold emails on Tuesdays and Thursdays and all your warm marketing emails on Wednesdays and Fridays. Mix them together.
Okay.
Mix the cold and the warm on the same day. So on a given day, if 10% of people have marked you as spam, if I did warm on the same day, that 10% looks like 1%.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So again, that helps with the algorithms. That's, again, just trying to keep that balanced all just right.
Yeah.
And it's doing stuff deliberately, thinking about this strategically, and thinking about what effect that might have on your domain. In the same way you might walk into a meeting with a client and go, well, if I behave this way, this will be the outcome I get. And if I behave that way, that will be the outcome I get. And thinking about that with this great big weapon that you have of email marketing and protecting your domain.
Okay, cool. And everything you're speaking about here, this is affecting like the big boys as well, isn't it? Big boys and girls.
Yeah.
It's not just like small solo recruiters, startup businesses that struggle with this. There's some big companies as well, right? When we were talking off camera, I hope it's okay to share this. You said about the Recruitment Agency Expo. They're obviously emailing lots of people, but they're all of those emails are going into your job.
Yeah, it's not all of them. There's a mix. I think they've got a couple of different platforms and a couple of different email types, but I'd say a half to 2/3 of the emails I get from them in the 2 mailboxes I've got subscribed to it are going into spam.
And I know,
I know why. Yeah, and I can help them fix it. So,
so if you're watching, get in touch. Yeah,
they're a bit busy right now because they're going to ramp up for the expo. But and this is the other thing, right? It's getting the timing right. I now want to fix the problem. I've got time in my business to focus on this issue. A mature recruitment agency, you've got senior people in the business that aren't burdened with the day-to-day running, and there's at least one director who's got time to be thinking about the future, and they've got time to think about this stuff. It's really hard when you're smaller and you're doing 14-hour days and 6 days a week,
Yeah.
and Sunday prep day,
Yeah,
7
yeah.
days a week. But there's a bit of a kind of paying it forward thing. You know that if you make some better strategic decisions, or you think strategically about your business, the quicker you make those changes, the quicker your business is going to be what you want it to be. I mean, you see this from, you think about like your local plumber or builder, right? They can never grow their business because they're just constantly on the go. It takes them forever to get back to anyone. They're booking in 7 weeks in advance, but they can't really think beyond that. They just took a step back and took maybe take a bit of a knock on the income for a bit to go, now I'm going to let that build up. I'm going to focus on the strategic side of the business, and knowing how important their email domain is to them, understanding that needs to be part of their arsenal as well, alongside other tech stuff as well, like your cybersecurity and scalability of your business and how quickly you can deploy technology to your new starters so they can hit the ground running on day one. That's the mechanical operational stuff. And the email domain is hopefully contributes to the future value of your business. You think about this from an exit perspective.
Yeah.
I've got a marketing engine that continually delivers leads into my business. My business is valued at this, the potential value of my business, because this doesn't need me. This is an automated marketing engine I've built. The potential income value is this. If you're looking for an exit, your business is going to be worth more if you can evidence your winning business, not because you're on the phone every day, and when you're not there, that's not going to happen. The business operationally, mechanically is delivering this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as you were saying that, I thought there's probably an element of here of, it's one thing me knowing it as the business owner, but I can't assume that my team are going to like behave in the right way and that they know this stuff. So I think there's an education piece internally there as well. If for someone listening to this, and if they were going to do, because all this stuff you're saying, like 16-hour days, I'm working 6 days a week, like when am I going to sit down and do all this bloody email stuff? If as a business owner I'm listening to this, or someone's listening to this, like what's one thing they should do today to start to have an impact on deliverability?
Know your data. So go and get this free Google Postmaster tool and go and get a trial of, I've got one, but other people have as well. Go and get a trial of a DMARC monitoring tool and see the data and actually have a look and go, 4% of people in 10%, 90% of people in Google's world are marking me as spam. I've got a problem. 60% of my emails are failing DMARC checks. I've got a problem. The same way that recruiters will look at the stats, how many calls, how many emails, how many deals, what are the targets, right? So target-driven, gamified business, there's what I want you to achieve. Look at your email domain and add that in there as well. I want to be achieving 99% deliverability and 0.5% marked as spam. There you go, that's my target. And then you're challenging the business to achieve those as well.
Yeah, it's data, isn't it? It's like anything in recruitment, what gets measured gets improved typically, and I think this should be included in that. What I will just add to that as a plug for your business, I think some people would have heard that of, you can get this checking tool. It's absolute pennies, isn't it? Like relatively compared to everything else we buy in recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, what's the finger in the air cost per head of rec tech in a recruiter? Hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah. Well, anywhere from a couple of hundred to a couple of grand a head, I would have thought. Yeah,
we're talking for the DMARC monitoring, we're talking 20 quid a month.
Yeah,
for the whole business, like one domain.
Yeah,
£20 a month.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's like when you put it like that, it's an absolute no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, and do you know what? And everything might be okay, but keeping that in place and keeping that measuring and recording means if you do have an issue, you've got the data to look back at. What changed and when did that change? When did we start to see an issue? And it's incredibly valuable when you bring in a new system online, changing CRMs, new marketing tool. You might be switching from 365 to Google Workspace or vice versa. But again, knowing the data and seeing if that's had an impact on what you do. In my world, it's all about change control, right? We're going to make a change. This is when we're going to make the change. This is what the change looks like. Here's the measures to make sure the change has been successful. Here's our regression plan if someone fucked it up.
Yeah,
that's it. Right, that's just corporate IT world, or ITIL if anyone's vaguely techie and been in the IT world. It's having good process around what you're doing. Too many people blindly just go, email that to them and just get them to make that change, and then just carry on. Well, how do you know it's been successful? How do you know they know what they're doing?
Yeah, Ben, this has been so interesting. I think it'd be incredibly interesting for a hell of a lot of people listening. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The easiest way, because recruiters live on LinkedIn, LinkedIn just /Ben Fielding, company /Quinset. You can go to quinset.co.uk, or email me, ben@quinset.co.uk. It's easy as that.
Do you know what? I'm going to share this as a final thing. So how we got in touch, and just sharing this for the people listening, is that you ended up on my email list somehow.
Yeah.
And you replied to an email and said, your email ended up in my junk. I can help you fix that. And then here we are now.
I don't do that for a lot. I get a lot of stuff goes into my junk, and I subscribe to a lot of things. And given my target industry is recruitment, if I see valuable content that I think is very good on education, I like to subscribe to that. So I understand my customers more. Every now and again, I was like, I really like what they're doing. This is really bad, right? They're going to spam. A lot of my spam stuff goes into spam, and like, well, tough, right? I think you're sending out crap, or I think you're a slightly dodgy business. I was like, this guy, I can help this guy. I really want to help you. I'd heard of you through Holly Langley. She really liked you. And I was like, I need to help this guy. So yeah, feels a bit ambulance chasery.
I liked it.
It's
part of me was like, is that the best sales email in the world?
I showed you your problem.
Yeah. No, you absolutely did.
Yeah, and I think that's really hard. I'm involved with a tech company called Next Gen IT. Showing someone there's a problem with their cybersecurity, or showing that someone there's a problem with productivity in their business is really, really hard. But showing someone they've got a problem with email deliverability is, look, there's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's great. I love helping people with this. Recruiters get a bad rap from, when I tell my friends or family what I do, and they're like, oh God, I get so many emails from recruiters. I know, but where'd you get your last job? Well, yeah, okay, all right, fine. So helping recruiters that love what they do, that are genuinely growing a business, are helping solve employment challenges in this country. My big passion this year is I love helping recruiters in the education space. My wife's in education, and it's a tough gig, right? Being a teacher in even like higher and further education it's a real tough gig as well. And there's some great jobs out there, and you can't just get used to looking what's on Hampshire County Council's job list. I really enjoy seeing the passion and enthusiasm in the industry, and I've got 3 per chance have been in contact with me this year. How do I find more of them? Because I've got even more of a connection with what they do.
Yeah. Well, I think after this you'll probably get a whole load more. Look, Ben, thanks so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me in. Cheers.